Peace be upon you. 46 in reverse. Well, yeah. Illusion, deception. Substituting one deception or illusion or delusion for another. They're getting better and better at it. I'm grateful for that because the filtering is getting heavier and heavier and more obvious, actually. Wow. We seem to be turned into parodies or copies of each other, of one another, in order to hide the truth even further by promising to offer it. Yes. I wonder if they would still do it. Would you still do it if someone were to be throwing rocks at you? Then you're doing the right thing. If you only do it with the promise of reward, then you're definitely going left. It's that simple. This persona you think you have, is going to be your very demise until you are very honest with yourself, assume accountability. And I'll give you an example. A very loving mother. I'm not questioning her love, but I mean, at what point does one stop themselves and say, am I being selfish here? Maybe I'm not. Takes her 600-pound daughter finally to the doctor, 24 years old, never done anything. She is the fruit of her mother's trauma. She steps out of the car, she falls on the ground. It's humiliating. That is what it took before she shouted to her mother, where obviously one would say, you ingrate, do not touch me. Don't touch me, get away from me. That's truth. That's the moment. Doesn't look good. It's not pleasant. It's not nice. There's no real genuine promise of reward or anything. There's just the process itself that's so empowering. And there's no other way but the right way. Freedom, liberation, accountability. It stems from pain. How far can you go? What circumstances need to occur before you no longer drag neither left nor right, defined by anything or anyone? What's dignity? What's that fine line between humility and dignity, and how humility, or so-called counterfeit humility or obedience, can actually work against you, especially if it's pleasant, if it tastes good. Oh, my mom loves me. She's giving me all this food. She must love me. As a substitute for what? And what is she taking from you by the very things that she's trying to give you? Counterfeit versions of love and light. It all makes sense. It's in the name of love. It's perfect. Is it? Well, reality tends to differ. And reality is telling you you've got this to do and this, and you've made this wrong. And maybe you can change this. And that's what empowerment is. Pointing fingers is all the contrary. The very things you may find comfort in are the very cause of your problem. That pain that you're escaping from because something more beautiful is promised to you. Whereas, oh, we're all equal. Oh, no kidding. No, we're not. Are we? We are one, scattered into pieces. Hence, by very definition, we are not equal. Nothing in nature is. It shouldn't be. That's the whole point. Being one while divided or separated. Learning, therefore, to come together and work as one, despite or perhaps even better because of our differences. Diversity helps us create intrinsic or more intricate, things. So value is intrinsic to all of us, unity and oneness. But your practical, physical reality is a feedback that you need to take into account. After all, why on earth would you even be here to begin with? So, people don't really deceive you unless you deceive yourself. You see, pictures of yourself, incomplete puzzles, because they lack truth. None of them can stand. So, something is being shattered here. Accountability. The girl sees a tree and she continues to shout, not even being able to see her mother from behind, "Do not touch me." As in, she got to a point to say to someone, "Don't touch me." She suffered no abuse. Everything was just handed to her in her hand while she was sitting on the sofa, becoming 600 pounds. She received all the love you think you want, right? Or you deserve. All of this while there's someone in the same position, dragging themselves through the dirt while starving. So some truth, sooner or later, someone's heart needs to change. She said it was humiliating. After the account, she grasped onto the tree, even though it would trash her hands at that weight, not knowing whether she would be able, in pain, because to fall at that weight, it's really painful. Everything hurts. And she wanted, insisted that she would pick herself up. That's how empowerment looks. But to pretend that there's nothing wrong, or laugh about it, or expect someone else to pick you up, or that time was done for this girl, and that's why she made it. You see, she's not defined by her weight or what others have done to her or promised her in the name of love and so on. Her mother loved as she could, as she knew. Ultimately, sooner or later, it was up to the daughter to become her own being, her own self. And that was that time. It took what? Shame, pain, a fall, a death of some sort, if you want to. All of a sudden, all the food in the world didn't taste as good. All of a sudden, all her mother's love, her world just crumbled and wanted nothing to do with her. She was the problem, and she knew it. It was the very person that loved her, which she did not question, that was what was keeping her from becoming who she wanted or needed to become. So transition, change. Sometimes it's just a moment, but it has to be physical, tangible, practical. All of those things that you're running from, unpleasant connections, unsaid things, cut off communication, the lies that you've told to so many people and yourself. That's why you're having such a hard time forgiving others. You've done it yourself. It's an aspect within you that you're having a hard time even beginning to face and therefore leave behind you. It's a self that you're ashamed of. You, in the people in your life's position, you don't know if you've done any better. You probably would have done even a lot worse than them. They're presented as potentials, different levels of reality of existence. It's you at different stages. Which one do you embrace? Which one do you overcome? Which one triggers you? Which one do you want to become? Which one do you aim to conquer? A person that you admire and not worship, which is different, and not to try and live through others, the same way many parents actually do inadvertently. That's their challenge, right? Where does free will come into play? Where is power given and where is it taken? Nowhere, because in reality it can't be, neither taken nor given. from one another to one another. Someone says, I'm in an abusive relationship. Well, there's a simple answer to that: divorce. I don't care about the details. Even if it's the last thing you do, you divorce. Period. But can you do that if you're not ready? No. No one can do it for you. No one should do it for you. So do we say we're not hurt by knowing that this person is being abused? Of course we are. But unless she's being tied to a wall in that house, there's nothing we can do for her. Unless she's being held against her will, nothing we can do for her. And it's the same with those navigating towards new and various new improved versions of spiritual schools of deceit, whereas they're gathering all of you. It doesn't matter what they use. Now they use anything that contains some truth. And they emulate, they imitate. They're shapeshifters is what they are. Whatever works, right? Or whatever they think it will work. And give it a spin by telling people exactly what they want to hear. So can we blame the devil? No, we can't. Devil's advocate, right? We can't. You yourself are responsible for the reality that you are going to build. Macrocosm, divine masculine, focus, center, Buddha, Christ consciousness, so on. You are all and then you are nothing, and etc. Presence, connection, purpose, faith. The moment you are herded in any kind of a group, I beg you, stop and question. Who are you? But you cannot just escape your carrying your cross, your reality. Can you? You can try. Well, I hope I burst a lot of bubbles here. True empowerment. The acknowledgement of the fact that only the brave, only the worthy, hazard or taking chances, taking risks to raise above whatever you perceive as your comfort zone, limitation. That's where empowerment lies. The cowards, well, I'm sorry. Next time around. Many blessings. Again, no one can take your power from you unless you give it away. And to begin with, you need some level of truth within you in order for you, painful one, that you're going to face about selves or perceptions of selves and dreams, and be honest about what you want and what does that actually speak about you, as opposed to the persona that you present to others, and etc. You see, reality will not give you something based on whatever you think you can lie it into giving to you, manipulate it or deceive it into giving to you. Oh, well, I'm a Pleiadian, therefore I will manifest a Pleiadian. No, you probably manifest some pervs. So be very careful, okay? You don't know these people, and you're obviously complete disconnect from your intuition because you're just hanging on to whatever anyone else says or does or proposes and so on. So you need to rather focus on presence. Is uncomfortable, especially when you have a lot of things to own up for and make changes on, but one step in front of the other. Take that chance. If you're hanging on to anyone else's opinion, choice, decision, and what does that say about your actual current spiritual degree? It's easy to tell you, you're amazing, you're perfect. You've made no mistakes. No one is as holy as I. Hashem forgive us. And you can be whatever you want. No. You know that's not true. That's something that rises within you. A sense of trust and faith and acknowledgement of one's genuine skills. not wishful thinking, not what you think you could do and what anyone else does. And because if your motivations are corrupt based on reward, they're corrupt from the get-go. Do you think the prophets and everyone who ever brought any significant contribution to our life, like for example the carpenter that made the very chair I'm sitting on, the carpenter with his bleeding hands that fed his family by making this chair and so many other forgettable things, right? That ultimately may end up just being firewood. Sacrifice, purpose is in the moment, in the creative process. That's humility, that's faith, and that's genuine expression of one's ability to be self-empowered. It gives purpose to one's existence, embracing what one can do and what work one can achieve beyond any actual fulfillment of oneself. You just do it because you do. You think the prophets or Yeshua, do you think Yeshua was moving along and making decisions based off some dangling carrot in front of him? No, he was doing it despite the challenges and they all had to pursue different paths. So do the black sheep. So my question is, what lessons can we draw from your personal experience? What boundaries have you pushed? What can we learn from